This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, June the 11th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks so much for tuning in. Our satellite image over the southeastern U.S. this morning shows that we do have kind of a split regime. We have a good deal of clouds over Florida and Georgia and into South Carolina, whereas the rest of the southeastern U.S., the western sections that is, are seeing a good deal of clear skies. So we're going to see a good deal of sunshine once again. Our surface map still features this large high-pressure system over the Carolinas that's moving slowly out into the Atlantic. And as a result, our moisture levels will be on the rise as they have been over the last couple of days, slowly. But they'll be on the rise as our southerly flow, surface flow, comes out of the Gulf of Mexico. Combine that with afternoon heating plus a little weak disturbance over eastern Texas that will be meandering across the northern Gulf Coast area. And you have the ingredients for somewhat unsettled weather pattern. Temperatures this morning generally in the upper 60s across much of the area. And note once again, of course, the northeastern part of Alabama, a little bit cooler. Fort Payne at 59. I'm sure that feels nice up there. And humidity levels are up, as you can see from dew points being in the 60s primarily. Radar not showing a great deal, but we do see some showers off in the Gulf of Mexico, off the Florida Panhandle, as well as over towards Texas where that disturbance is. The watch warning map is somewhat free of a lot of action. You see some gray areas there from Lake Michigan, southern Lake Michigan, over to the mid-Atlantic states and up into southern New England. That's those gray areas are dense fog advisories. Over the Rockies, we have a good deal of high fire danger. That's the bright pinkish red areas. And the green across the northern part of the Rockies are flash flood watches and flood watches. So those are where some of the active weather is going on. The QPF pretty much tells you the story. Dry in the southwestern U.S. and kind of wet across the eastern half of the country. And, of course, that eastern half of the country includes the southeastern U.S. and central Alabama. The Storm Prediction Center has an enhanced risk over parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin for day one, and that generally just north of the Chicago area. For day two, that area kind of heads back west into parts of Wyoming, Montana, and the Dakotas with a slight risk surrounding that enhanced risk area. And then on day three, we have a slight risk over parts of the eastern Dakotas, western Iowa, and the western sections of Minnesota. Tropics, the tropical Atlantic remains quiet. Got some cloudy areas over the eastern Gulf and that old frontal boundary draped out into the Atlantic, but otherwise nothing serious for us to watch. In the eastern Pacific, the eastern North Pacific, I should be specific there, we do have that area of disturbed weather off the extreme southern coast of Mexico. It's going to be bringing some heavy rain to that area, and it may develop into a depression over the next several days. And as you can see, it's going to be hugging the coast there, causing a lot of problems for those folks. All right, the 060 GFS model run this morning, and there's the forecast, the surface map for this afternoon at 18Z. And as you can see, it looks like the primary threat for showers is going to be along the Gulf Coast. But we're going to say that up in central and north Alabama, we may see some isolated showers. The upper air pattern on Monday, and the weakness over East Texas is now very broad, and it's very hard to pinpoint, but it is going to be producing a good deal of showery weather over the Gulf of Mexico and over the southeastern U.S. One of the reasons for that is that precipitable water values are way up there. Most of these values over Alabama are from about 1.8 to 2.1 or so. So those are very, very high precipitable water values. And while I'm not going to be showing the precipitable water charts, we stay up there with values between about 1.8 and 2 for much of the week ahead. That weakness is a little more noticeable over the eastern Gulf on Tuesday. The problem is it is weak, and it's going to be very hard to keep up with exactly its location. And we do note that very strong upper low coming in across the northern Gulf of the northern Rockies, and that will be pushed northward due to the ridge. At the surface, we're just in an unsettled weather pattern. That little disturbance in the flow aloft is still there, but as that big low coming out of the northern and north central Rockies moves into Canada, That will be helping to push the ridge a little further to the east, the upper ridge, and that still keeps us in a showery, unsettled weather pattern. Thursday, the ridge is now migrating and getting very close to the east coast as that big trough begins to weaken coming across southern Canada. And, of course, at the surface, we're not getting an air mass change. So without an air mass change, you're not going to see any changes, which means daily showers. And I think the probability of showers each day is fairly high. By Friday, we're beginning to see that a little more of a troughiness is being established over the eastern part of the country, and that is certainly good. It's not going to eliminate the moisture and therefore the shower threats, but the good news is with this kind of pattern, as you see on Saturday, that we're not going to be seeing exceptionally high heat, so that certainly is good. Saturday, once again, showers a possibility. I know, beginning to sound very monotonous, like a broken record. And by the end of the period, we do note that the GFS is now picking up on that disturbance, and it's a little stronger. Could there be some tropical mischief there? Maybe. We'll have to be watching that to see what happens, since it will be very close to shore. And suddenly, the GFS is much less bullish on the precipitation. Not sure why. Maybe a little fluke. Looking out into voodoo country, and we do see on this run that the GFS is a little more bullish on the troughiness over the eastern part of the country. Wasn't that way yesterday. We also note that on this map for the June 20th that there's some tropical mischief over the western Gulf. That was not the case yesterday, so we've had a bit of a change. But, you know, it's voodoo country, so what do you expect? We see the troughiness remaining with us around the 22nd as that disturbance in the western Gulf moves closer to Texas. And then by the time we get out to the end of the period, around the 26th of June, we still have the general troughiness over the eastern part of the country, and that disturbance in the Gulf is no longer visible. That'll do it for the Weather Xtreme video for this edition. James Spann should be back in the saddle with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, check the latest forecast at ABC 3340. This evening at 5 and 10, I'll be filling in for Megan on the news and providing the latest updates on the forecast. Have a great day. Godspeed.